Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sell More Book Show, episode 567. I'm Brian Cohen from Best Page Forward, joined by the Queen of Angst, direct selling superstar, in person selling superstar, Patreon champion, M. Robinson. Monica, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I know that, you're soldiering through a little bit of a cold that we're going to figure out how to stop. But when we
Perfect.
get off, I'm going to send
Yes.
you all the supplements. Um, but I was so happy that you were able to hop on because when I was chatting with Willow Winters a
Mm-hmm.
few episodes ago, she said, "You got to have Em on. I'm with her at these signings all the time.
Love
She's
it.
amazing." And she didn't even know you and I had talked because we talked about Facebook ads. We
Yes.
talked about some other stuff. So, what do you like so much about traveling around and meeting authors or meeting readers and signing these books for them?
I love to travel. I think every time I travel, I get inspired for like a new story. So for me, it's very therapeutic in that way that I constantly have stories coming about.
Yeah.
So that's why I love to travel. But I also love to travel to meet readers just because I feel like it's the only people that I can talk to about my books that completely understand how it feels and the characters and the love and all the sweat that goes into creating these stories. So
Yeah.
I just love being able to talk to people that are so passionate about it like I am. I feel like that's very rewarding.
Do you feel like for you and your career taking off the way it has and the success you've had, do you feel like that if the in like what came first? Like you writing amazing stories and then the readers found you, or you finding these readers out and about and building your audience that way? Like what do you feel like, which was the chicken, which was the egg? How did that work out?
For me, it was a little different because I've been around for 11 years now.
Yeah.
So back then, it wasn't like it is now. Like we had social media, but we only had Facebook, right? We didn't have
Right.
like all these other platforms and stuff. So I jumped into selling erotica. Like my first three books, my first
Hmm.
five books are all erotica before I jumped into contemporary romance.
Yeah.
But like everybody in the world that became a romance author, I read E.L. James
Of course.
and 50 Shades of Grey, and I fell in love with reading again. I was an avid reader as a kid. So college, school, all that stuff took over, and then I read again. I was like, oh my God, I love this. So I just started reading every book that I could. And then my husband was like, I was a psych major at the time. I was
Yeah.
getting my doctorate in psychology. So I was used to writing papers and kind of following that vibe.
Yeah.
So he was like, you should try writing a book. You're so passionate about books, you know. It took him a year and I finally
Hmm.
sat down and did it. But I was a full-time teacher at the time and a full-time doctoral student. So it took me about like 8 months to write my first book,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
is VIP. And it was a happily married man falling in love with an escort. So
Mm.
the storyline was very taboo, was very forbidden. And I kind of just jumped on that 50 Shades of Grey train because
Yeah.
everybody was trying to find something to read, right? And there wasn't that many of us. So I kind of got lucky in that point versus the market wasn't saturated like it is now. So it was a little not easier because I've worked my butt off to get here, but like it wasn't
Right.
what it is now. So I I honestly had no hopes or anything. I just literally wrote a book and I put it out there, and within the first month I made my teacher's salary.
Ah.
So I literally quit my job, dropped out of school, and I've been a full-time writer ever since.
Do you I mean, your husband was so supportive in
It
this, which
was.
is so great.
Yeah.
I mean, did he have any hesitation about you
Oh,
like that? Seeing that big KDP income come
yeah.
in, he did
I think
not.
we were both shocked. I think it was just timing, and I think that like I wrote a controversial story, so
Right.
people were talking about it. Um, and I got really lucky that I had pretty big blogs read my first book. And at that point, we had
Mm.
bloggers that actually had like websites that they did their readings,
Yep.
like
Oh, yep.
their reviews through. So at the time, Totally Book Blog was a big book blog. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're still around. And yeah, they read me. And within like, I don't know, an hour of the review being up, it was like just pouring down reviews. It was pouring down sales. It was crazy to watch. Um, so I had that help, and I tell them all the time, like I owe them a lot. So I feel like I feel like a lot with this industry is timing and luck, honestly.
Yeah. But you put yourself in a good situation. It took you 8 months to write that book.
Yeah.
At any point in those, 8 months, you could have given up. You didn't.
Yeah.
You kept going. You kept
True.
teaching at the
Yeah.
time that you were doing it.
Yeah.
You put the book out. It was branded well, VIP. I mean, that is incredible branding
Yeah.
at a
Really
time
was.
when, yeah. So you
Yeah.
had a lot
Yeah.
going for you. I'm just gonna say it wasn't all luck. You definitely
Thanks.
did a lot there. But we're gonna get into some more fun stuff here.
Okay.
So I did want to let folks know who are listening. My Groundbreakers author mastermind is open, 6-month coaching program. We'll have the link in the show notes there, so you can definitely go check that out. It's a great program with Scarlett Braden Moss and Craig Huber from Author Ad School running that awesome program. So go check that out. And we had a question from the previous week, which was, now that we're in, I might ask you this as well,
Okay.
but yeah, don't worry. If something falls down and crashes during this, it's
Sorry about
totally
that.
fine. No worries. Now that we're into February, have you as an author looked at each month on the calendar to see which are your best-selling months, how you're using it to your advantage, and using your weakest month to your advantage for recovery and or sales ideas? Heather Hadley said, my best-selling months at this early stage of my career are the ones that I'm showing up at in-person events. I'd like to show up to events on a monthly basis. Then I'll have a better idea on when people like to make purchases. And then Amy Martinson, author, said, yes, although the good months have switched a little with an election year last year, I know which are the not so good months and will definitely plan around them. Yes, every election year is always wonky.
It is
for those
brutal.
sales. I know.
It's brutal.
I know.
It is only the strong survive, I feel like.
I know. I have done always way too much promo in the Octobers before election years, and I need to stop.
Oh yeah. It's insane. I feel like the whole year is like a write-off though, because it just gradually gets worse as the weeks go by, So it's like, oh goodness.
Yeah, no, we've been there. Do you kind of know generally in non-election years, do you know like this month is usually good, that month is usually good? Because kind of like Heather wants to do here, you do go to events pretty much every month.
I do.
So
I
do you
do.
know like these tend to be my best months?
Honestly, I feel like right now everything is so all over the place in the book industry that I just release when you're done with your book, like put your heart and soul into it, get a really good editor and market it, and just market your butt off, because honestly, I don't even know if it matters anymore. Like maybe try not to release during the holidays, but even then, like moms are home, people are home. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's really hard to tell people do this, do that, because everyone is so different in their own like career and what works for them and what doesn't. So for me, I'm always just like, write the book and release it. You finish it, you have a good editor, you have a good cover, get it out.
Yeah, definitely good advice. Faster as opposed to perfect, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think you're ever going to have anything be perfect either. So
no,
yeah.
This is for sure. Let's go into the top story here, which is direct from the source. More books, email list growth, and picking the right genre may be the keys to direct selling success, according to a survey of 547 authors on Dave Chesson's Kindlepreneur. Quote, what does it really take to make direct sales work as an author, asked Chesson. Is it just an overhyped side hustle, or can you actually build a sustainable business around it? Let's break it down, end quote. Kindlepreneur found that a whopping 66% of authors selling direct have published at least 5 books, and 46% have over 10 books published. Authors with 10 plus books earned $1,045 per month on average, 5 times the earnings of those with 2 to 4 books. Authors with email lists of over 15,000 subscribers earn more than double of those with a 10 to 15,000 10,000 to 15,000 list size. Quote, a large, engaged mailing list provides authors with a direct line to readers and a captive audience of fans, says Chesson, effectively allowing them to market new releases, promote special offers, and drive sales conversions, end quote. Surprisingly, 23% of the authors selling direct surveyed didn't use an email marketing service provided, even though direct sales itself is usually supported by an email system that collects email addresses. Those authors without an email marketing system averaged only $149 per month in direct sales. When it comes to genres, many do well, but nonfiction and romance lead the way, as well as 80% of authors offered physical and electronic formats. So after all this, should you sell direct? The Kindlepreneur survey suggests that you should consider it if you have a substantial backlist, have an engaged email list, can offer multiple book formats, and are willing to employ multiple sources to drive traffic. So, Monica, this is tough. Direct selling is like the big thing.
It's a whole other ballgame.
Everyone wants to do it. But Dave is pouring a little bit of cold water on this, saying you might need to be this tall to ride this ride. What's your opinion?
I completely agree with them. Because it is a whole other ball game. It's a whole other marketing game. It is a whole other, it's just a whole other vibe. And my experience with it, you see more success with the more books that you have, but not in the sense of like putting them each individually, more like building collections.
Right.
So versus somebody buying just one book, they're buying like 10 books at a much better deal that they would, you know, with buying the individual books. So I have seen success doing that. However, it's still really hard, and I've been doing it for the last probably about 3 years now.
Yeah.
And I have everything. I have from ebooks to signed paperbacks and hardbacks, special editions, the whole nine. And ebooks would be the hardest one to sell, in my opinion. Just because readers are comfortable, you know, they like their Amazon, they like their Apple, they like their Kobo, you know, like they don't want to learn anything that they may think is hard when it's not. It's literally just downloading an app. It's really simple. But I do see success in the signed paperbacks and the hardbacks. I think they get very, very excited about those, especially when you have special editions. And again, you can do collections with those. So I feel like those are definitely more profitable. If you're wanting to start a website, I would go that route first and then bring on ebooks because it's a lot harder to sell.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think people come to this sometimes. They think, well, it's ebook. There's no delivery cost. I don't need to have stacks of books in my garage. And they think, well, this is going to be easier. But I haven't actually heard that many people talk about the comfortability angle for readers, is that no, they want to read on their Kindle. And if they can't do it easily, they're not necessarily going to buy.
Exactly. So I think it's definitely good to have it on there as an asset and have it as a backup. But unless you have a good backlist, I would say about like at least 10, what he was suggesting. That way you can do collections and you can do that way. But I mean, with signed paperbacks and hardbacks, you now have like so many third parties that'll actually send it out for you, but they don't get signed.
Right.
In my experience, I think it's better when they come signed because they want them more. Plus they have that personal touch with you, but that is very time consuming because you have to sign, you have to package, you have to ship if you don't have help. So it's like you're a one-woman show for it, which could be overwhelming at times, especially if you have to stick to a consistent writing schedule for releasing. But I mean, if it's something you want to do, you'll make time for it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Got a hot potato of wisdom question here for you, Monica. So an email list does seem to be one of these big factors.
Yeah.
How would you grow, like, let's say you were starting from the beginning, how would you grow your email list differently if you were really like, I know from the beginning I'm going to be selling hardcovers, I'm going to be selling signed stuff, to grow the list knowing that you want to do this direct sales stuff? How would you do it?
I don't even know I don't even know what I would say to that. Part of me is like, I mean, if you're up for the challenge, I would probably, you know, have my readers just get my books off my website and not even like it on Amazon and Apple and kind of getting them used to that so they know. But that's going to take longer for you to make money. So
Right.
it just depends on what you're trying to do here. If you want to grow your reader base and you want to get them used to something specific with you, and you have the time and the finances to do that, I'd probably go that route. But if it's not, it's going to be a lot, easier if you want to go on KU or something along those lines, because,
Mm-hmm.
Amazon does push you more when you're over there.
I see though, super cool experiment, wouldn't it be
Yeah.
to if an author just said, no,
Yeah.
I'm literally not gonna put the book anywhere else. It is only gonna live on my website and I'm only gonna run ads and do
Yeah.
traffic and go to events. And this is it. It's like, is your book on Amazon? No.
Yeah.
This is how you get it, and you're gonna have to give me your email address.
Yeah. And I think that they would do it, especially if you grow your
Yeah,
reader base and you get them
yeah,
used to that. And then they're just going to tell other readers. So, you
right,
know how everything is in this industry, it catches like wildfire. So it's only like takes a couple people to start it. And then everybody else is like, oh, that's genius. But again, you're taking away other money from coming in from the other platforms. But
right,
you're also gaining money because they're not taking the percentage that they do by you being on their platforms. Like,
right.
so I don't know. I don't know which one outweighs, but I'd probably
Yeah.
try to go that route.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. Cool idea, man.
Yeah.
No, thank you. You've got a question here for me
Okay.
in this hot potatoes of
Yes.
wisdom section.
Okay. So hold on. I'm looking.
It's right
Okay.
under this.
What are
Yeah.
some of the barriers keeping authors from starting with direct sales?
Well, I think a lot of authors are trying direct sales, but they haven't thought through some of the barriers they already have, which is, you mentioned one, time.
Yeah.
That it takes a lot of time, especially if you want that personal touch. It takes a lot of money. I think some people see the big successes and they think, oh, well, I'll be like them if I direct sell, not knowing that that person has like a team of 3 people working on it.
Yeah.
And so I think time and money are the biggest barriers and the biggest reasons why it's not going to be the easiest path. It certainly is not the easy push button way to success.
No, there isn't. And everybody's journey is really different. So, like I was saying before, it's really hard to like when people ask me for advice or new authors to give it because everybody is so different. And just
Yeah.
because it works for you, it does not mean it's going to work for everybody. So I feel like it's a little bit harder to kind of guide people in this industry. And it's constantly changing, like
Yeah.
literally on a daily. So it's it's a lot. It takes a lot of determination and patience to succeed in this industry, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And
Yeah,
those are the real traits.
they really
Just the
are.
will, the perseverance.
Yes,
Not
it is.
easy. Not easy. Um, we're gonna have a treat here, which is usually don't force. I ask very nicely for our co-host to do a lightning sound, but since Monica's a little under the weather here, I'm just gonna go ahead, do my best lightning attempt. There we go. There we go. I had to wait
Sounds
till
good.
you were drinking something in case of
I
spit
know.
take.
I
Awesome. Well, Monica, do you think a book signing or an in-person event, do these need to be profitable to be worth it?
um nowadays, yes, because
Okay.
everything is so inflated and everything's really expensive. But to be completely honest and transparent, the profitability of signings is relatively new.
Yeah.
Back in the day, there was no money to be made. Like we were
Yeah.
going there just to network, to meet readers, to socialize, to, do it that way. And I think that's how we all thought of it, as a kind of like growing your reader base, networking, meeting other authors, just kind of that vibe. And the last, I would say since book talk, um, things have turned with
Yeah.
that. And now at the signings, you have way more readers than we used to. Like before, it was you had one convention a year. Now there's like 10, and
Right.
they all have thousands and thousands of readers. So now they are, but that who's to say that won't change. But
Yeah.
within the last, since book talk got really big, probably since like 2020, 2021, after COVID,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
when things started changing and people started realizing, but also things changed in the market where it wasn't just like our standard hot guy cover. Now we
Right.
have illustrations and special editions and all the other things. So I feel like we have more to offer than we used to, as well
Mhm.
to make them more profitable.
Do you think that it needs to be profitable or they shouldn't even do it? Or when you're starting out, it might not be profitable to get your foot in the door?
I mean, when you're starting out, it probably won't be profitable just because you're growing your reader base. But
Mhm.
honestly, I don't do them because they're profitable. I do them because they just recharge me. Like for me,
Yeah.
I love being around my readers. It honestly motivates me to get back in and continue writing because this is a very hard industry in the sense of like just having the discipline to get in the, in the cave every day and write the words and
Hmm.
release. So, and sometimes your book may not be as successful as you thought it was going to, and then you
Right.
have to deal with imposter syndrome and all the stuff that comes with that. So I
Yeah.
feel like I don't know, for me, it motivates me to be like, all right, I'm doing this for somebody, especially when you have someone come up to you and they're like, your book changed my life, or I
Yeah.
read this while my husband was in the hospital, or something, totally crazy like that, that you're like, oh my goodness, how did I even do that? So to me, that's what makes it so special.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I really
Good
love
answer.
it. Yeah.
You've got a question here for me. Second question here in the lightning round.
Okay. Hold on. Okay, here. When
It should be in, I'm noticing.
Not when in your career does it
Yeah.
make it okay, is that one the question?
Yeah. I
Okay,
just
cool.
had a
Sorry.
typo.
When your career does it make it sense to do in-person signings?
Well, I think that if you're like Monica and you do get recharged by these kind of things, it could be now. It could make
Yeah.
sense now. I'm a big proponent of joy marketing. If something brings you joy, if something
Yes.
fills your well and it happens to sell books, you don't need to take 20 courses. You don't need to do all of the things. You don't need to keep up with the Joneses because you have already found something that works and it brings you joy.
Yeah,
Um, Success as an author doesn't mean doing everything all the time.
exactly.
It really it's really all about you and the life you want to lead. And if in person makes you happy, then yeah, do in person. Just know that it might take some time to be profitable.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love the in-person things. Even I know a lot of authors do suffer from like social anxiety, and these
Right.
things can be really overwhelming. But if you don't have that, issue, but if you do, I could understand why you wouldn't want to put yourself in situations like that. But then you can also do the smaller signings, that only have like 50 or 100 readers, and then you can
Yeah.
still have the experience of your readers getting to meet you, because they really do love that. Like I think
Yeah.
they love that more than anything, is getting to meet us and hearing, and asking us questions, or just hearing about the process with their favorite books. Like I don't think people understand how passionate readers are. It is to some of them, it's everything.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. What would you say, keeping on the in-person events and signings train here, what are the most common mistakes authors make when they're coming to their first book signings or they're coming to their first in-person sales events?
I think maybe taking too many books with them, or taking too much
Mm-hmm.
stuff with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or even just like going crazy with their table and spending, $5,000 to $10,000 to decorate it or something. Speaking from experience, I've never spent that much, but I know friends that have, and it hasn't, helped one way or another. Like, yeah, it makes your table look nice and presentable and stuff, but as far as like having, it working in the sense of like having more people come to your table or seeing, maybe it would, but honestly, like they just want to see you. So
Yeah.
the more you network with other readers and authors, like the more people are going to continue to like be like, oh, I met her and she was great and they told me about this book. So for me, I think just, I don't know, taking too many books, taking too much swag, taking too much of all those things. I honestly think they just want to meet you.
A friend of mine was at an event actually with Willow, so you could have been there too. Who knows? But she brought way too much stuff and was like scrambling, and I think Willow ended up taking the stock for her, which was really nice. And so Yeah, I've heard horror
It
stories.
is. And then you have to ship all that stuff back. And like
Yep.
the hotel literally fees you up the wazoo. So like you
Mm-hmm.
spend more money shipping it all back than you did getting it there. So it's just a hassle. Honestly, they go with your books that are your best sellers. If you only have one book, bring that book. Bring like a rack card or anything, or even on just like your banner, just have like something that has your information on it. And that's
Yeah,
literally all you need to bring.
that's awesome. That is
Yeah.
helpful. All right, you've got a question here for me about being an introvert.
Okay, introvert. Okay. How do authors handle being introverts and going to author events?
Well, this is the thing, right? Let's say you do love the whole physical book thing. Well, you can sell it just from your own website and stay there, but it seems like the best ways people have is going to these in-person events or becoming a presence on social media or both. And so the thing is, look, we've all had jobs where we don't get to do exactly what we want to do some of the time. It's how you make the money.
Yeah,
And that is going to be the case in the author world sometimes too.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and so if you are an introvert and this is the path you've decided to go with your books, make sure to provide yourself plenty of downtime. Make sure, which you do if you're an extrovert or an introvert, you need that downtime. But you need the things that recharge you. Pay very close attention to what refills you and recharges you. You are allowed to bring these things to the event that recharge you. You are allowed to give yourself that gift of when you get back to the hotel room, having these things handy, having these things available to yourself. You don't have to play the extrovert playbook when you are an introvert at these events. You're allowed to do it your own dang way.
Yeah, definitely.
So go for it.
Yeah, and with social media nowadays, like you can just use your own platform. Like you don't
Yeah.
even have to go to these signings. Your readers will find you on whatever platform you choose to be on. Um, I opened Patreon for mine, and
Yeah.
I absolutely adore it in there. It's amazing. So, and that's the first way I reach my readers is through there. And honestly, I think they love that maybe more than the signings because there's so many authors there, and they don't get to go to every table. Like this is where they can actually get like one-on-one time.
Do you feel like um Patreon, which is another hard thing to consistently create content that is going to go to these people, do you think Patreon could be subbed for in-person events or that they kind of work together?
I think they work together, but I mean, even I think that could, or even if you want to, well, Facebook is kind of hard, but you could have a Facebook book group. And like years ago, they actually worked, but now with Facebook censoring everything, it's really
Yeah.
hard to see anything in there. So
Yeah.
it's kind of why I created my Patreon, because I get in trouble all the time on social media with posting whatever I post, you know? So it was nice to have the freedom that I have over
Yeah.
there without having to worry about getting in trouble, especially writing romance, you know?
Right, 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 right.
So I love it over there. I mean, I wish I would have opened it years ago. We're coming up on a year that we've had it open, and we're at like over 400 members.
That's
Um,
great.
yeah, so I want to continue to grow it, and I do special editions and stuff in there. So yeah, there is more content that goes back to them, but I also, have a lot of content that I share on social media. So it worked in my favor because I was already putting that content out. And for them, I just show them everything first, right? So they get like the
Yeah.
behind the scenes of the process and all that stuff. So for me, it was an easy transition because I was already releasing that amount of content. But it is a lot of work. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
but I do love
getting that sense in common between all of the things that you do. They're
it.
all a
Yeah.
lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Everything is a lot of work. But honestly, I am so grateful to be able to do this. Like I love what I do. So as long as you love it, like it really doesn't seem like work. I mean, there will be times where you're going to feel like, down and it's just normal, but
Yeah.
the pros outweigh the cons by millions. So,
Love that. Last question of the lightning round from me to you.
okay.
Other than the books themselves, what are your most effective in person at event marketing tools?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. It's mostly just my books.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't
Do
know.
you
I
think
guess
for when a new person who doesn't know you, they're there for somebody else, they find you, they come to your table, is it about the book covers? Is it about striking up a conversation with
it's
them?
definitely my book covers.
Yeah.
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 Plus, I have my husband with me, and he's like completely tattooed. So people think that he's like a model, and they'll come to the table for that too. So
That's a
it does.
hey, that's a
It does.
nice ace in the hole there,
I
right?
know. I know. But then they'll come to I call him Boss Man. He's very much a part of my brand. So people literally come to my table and just be like, "Is Boss Man here?" And I'm like, "No, he's getting, food or something." They're like, "Oh, well, we'll come back when he's here." So I'm like, "Cool, thanks."
That's really funny.
It is funny. He finds it entertaining. But mostly it is my book covers. I
Yeah.
take a lot of books with me. So I take like the Hawkeye covers, I take the special editions, I take a lot. So there's a variety of them on my table. And I think that's definitely one of the other reasons. Or their friend will be waiting in line and they'll be standing with their friend. That's another good way. Or even
Mhm.
just meeting girls that are there for you and they talk because they all socialize. And they're like,
Right.
"Oh, I just heard about you at the line trying to get lunch. So this is why I'm here. You'll get a
That's
lot of that."
amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that ends our lightning round.
Yeah.
So, Monica, we need to come up with a question of the
Okay.
week. It could really be about anything. It could be about this direct selling stuff. It could be about the in-person events. What really I think inspires our guest co-host is if you have a question you want to ask the authors about direct selling or in-person events, this is a good place to ask it. What do you think?
Like what would I be
What would you want other author? What would you want to know about these newer authors that listen to this show? What would you want to know about their opinions related to direct selling in-person events, if anything?
I
If
don't think
not, I'll
I would
come up
definitely
with it.
like to hear what their perspective is on how to succeed
Mm-hmm.
and what they
Okay.
think they have to do to succeed. I think that would be interesting.
I'm going to ask that question then. Awesome. What do you think you need to do next to succeed in your author career? I like it. So, y'all, you can answer the question of the week over at the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group or at sellmorebookshow.com. Monica, you're such a trooper today. I
Thanks.
appreciate you. I know you resisted. I'm gonna send you all the throat coat
Oh,
tea.
you're fine.
You're gonna feel great. Anyone who wants to read what Monica writes, go to authormrobinson.com. But I'm so glad you were able to spend some time with
Yeah,
us
thank you
today.
for having me. This was fun.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week, folks, with another wonderful episode for M. Robinson. I'm Brian Cohen. Have a great week of book selling, everybody. We'll talk to you next week for episode 568. Bye.
Bye.